Guy Fieri might be the king of Flavortown on screen, but off screen, his life has been filled with moments of heartbreak, struggle, and resilience that would surprise even his biggest fans. To the world, Guy Fieri is all energy, spiky blonde hair, bold sunglasses, wild catchphrases, and an infectious enthusiasm for greasy diners and road trip eats. But behind the fiery personality is a man who's quietly endured some of life's most painful tragedies while building a food empire that now stretches from coast to coast. His journey to fame wasn't served on a silver platter. Before the TV shows, the diners, the drive-ins, and the dives, Guy was just a hard-working kid from Northern California with big dreams and an even bigger appetite. What many don't know is that Guy's childhood was shaped by early adversity. He had to hustle from a young age, building a pretzel cart business in grade school just to earn enough money to go study in France. His love for food was born not in a test kitchen or culinary school, but in the daily grind of survival and hustle. But the real heartbreak in Guy Fieri's life came years later, long after he became a household name. One of the most devastating moments in his life was the death of his younger sister, Morgan, who passed away from cancer in 2011. She was just 38 years old. Morgan's death wasn't just a tragic loss. It was a soul-shattering event that changed Guy forever. The two were incredibly close. Guy has spoken about her strength, her spirit, and how she faced her illness with courage and dignity. Losing her left a wound that fame and fortune couldn't heal. Guy was deeply impacted by her passing, and he has honored her memory ever since, quietly but powerfully. He even named his son Ryder Morgan, as a tribute to the sister he loved so much. Behind the laughter and flames on screen, there's a man who carries grief in his heart every day. Another less-known tragedy that shaped Guy Fieri's life was the loss of his nephew Jules' custody battle. When Morgan died, she left behind her young son Jules, and a long, painful legal battle ensued between Guy and Morgan's former partner over custody. Guy stepped in to protect Jules, trying to honor his sister's wishes and provide stability during a time of emotional chaos. The custody case was intense and highly personal, dragging through the court system while Guy was juggling his public persona and professional responsibilities. He wanted nothing more than to ensure his nephew was cared for, but the legal fight added yet another layer of emotional stress to an already devastating chapter. Through it all, Guy never let the cameras catch the pain. He remained the upbeat, road-tripping food ambassador America loved. But make no mistake, his private life was being tested in every way imaginable. Then there's the side of Guy's story that's rarely discussed. The incredible pressure and scrutiny that came with his sudden rise to fame. Winning the next Food Network star launched him into the spotlight, but with celebrity came critics, and lots of them. Guy Fieri has been one of the most polarizing figures in the culinary world. For every fan who loves his energy and approach to food, there's a critic who mocks his style, his voice, his looks, and even his intelligence. He's been the punchline of countless jokes, roasted in op-eds, and dismissed by elitist food writers who never took his talent seriously. Some chefs scoffed at his flavor-heavy, over-the-top cooking, calling it gimmicky or tacky. The backlash hit hard. For a man who poured himself into his passion for comfort food and accessible flavors, the personal attacks were difficult to stomach. Guy has admitted that the harsh criticism at times got to him, and it's clear that staying true to his brand in the face of non-stop ridicule required more strength than most people realize. Beyond the headlines and harsh reviews, Guy Fieri also faced intense business pressure. With dozens of restaurants, brand partnerships, and television commitments, Guy built an empire that demands constant attention. That kind of workload can take a toll on anyone's mental and physical health. Behind the scenes, he's balancing deals, managing staff, and trying to be present for his family, all while staying camera-ready and full of energy. It's not just a show, it's a lifestyle that can burn out even the most seasoned pros. And yet Guy rarely complains. He works through the exhaustion, often putting others first. During the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, while other celebrities were retreating from public life, Guy raised over $25 million for restaurant workers who lost their jobs. That's the kind of man he is. The kind who hides his hurt, pushes through the pain, and keeps lifting others up, even when his own world feels heavy. There's another chapter of tragedy that Guy rarely speaks about, but one that clearly left an imprint on his worldview: the constant stress of protecting his family. In interviews, he's talked about how fame has brought not just wealth, but real danger. He's had to beef up security, deal with stalkers, and worry about his children being targeted. Fame gave him a platform, but it also made him a target. His family, especially his wife Lori and sons Hunter and Ryder, have had to live under that spotlight, facing the weight of Guy's celebrity. For a man who's always prioritized being a good husband and father, that stress cuts deep. Guy often speaks about his wife as his rock, the person who supported him when he had nothing and believed in him when others didn't. Their love story is a rare constant in a world that changes fast and often cruelly. But even the strongest relationships can be tested under the glare of the public eye. Perhaps one of the most painful parts of Guy Fieri's story is how easily people overlook the depth of who he really is. They see the flame shirts, the wild metaphors, the loud laughter, and they assume it's all an act. But the truth is, Guy Fieri is a deeply loyal, incredibly generous, and emotionally complex person. He's officiated hundreds of LGBTQ+ weddings in honor of his late sister. He's cooked for firefighters, veterans, and frontline workers. He's written checks when no one was looking. He's used his platform not for ego, but for impact. And yet, because of how he looks or talks, many still don't take him seriously. That hurts. And though he may never say it outright, the rejection and underestimation have left scars. Still, in spite of the personal losses, family heartbreaks, public criticism, and crushing pressure, Guy Fieri keeps moving forward, with fire, with focus, and with a lot of flavor. His tragedies haven't defined him, but they have shaped him. They've made him more compassionate, more generous, and more determined to leave a legacy that's bigger than burgers and barbecue. The most tragic things about Guy Fieri's life aren't just the losses he's faced. They're how often people forget he's human. That behind the larger-than-life personality is a man who has cried, who has struggled, who has grieved. A man who's buried a sister, fought for a child, endured ridicule, and kept showing up. He's proof that you can be bold and broken, loud and loving, famous and fragile. And maybe that's the real secret to Guy Fieri's success. Not just that he brings the flavor, but that he never forgets the fire it took to get there. If Guy Fieri's story gave you a new perspective, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories behind the stars you thought you knew.